everyone, and welcome. It's your Frontier Opening Bell. It's the start of yet another new week here on Frontier Africa Reports. Welcome, both in Namafai and, of course, my colleague in South Africa, in Johannesburg. To be more specific, Tuleto Zwane. How was it, Tuleto, over the weekend from the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali? Morning.
Good morning, Boasen. The Africa CEO Forum was very wonderful, as per usual. Over 2,500 delegates attended, so we had meetings from the oil sector to the logistics sector to small businesses. A lot of excitement about Africa's development, especially through the private sector. So, yes, very exciting last week indeed, and the weekend was also amazing. Back in Johannesburg this week.
Yeah, quite a whole lot, and of course, I'm sure as soon as you get landed, starting another week is a whole lot on your calendar as well. So we're going to touch that and that a little bit. But again, that was a very big one there at the Africa CEO Forum. It's a very big event all the time wherever it's held on the African continent. Quite very rich as well. So thank you very much, Tuleto. But let's quickly run you through the markets that you're looking at right now on your screen with the Nigerian stock market down. So just 3 basis points on Friday. The BRVM was better by 33 basis points. The Egyptian market started on Sunday. That was yesterday, by roughly 4.5%, solidly above 27,000 before the rest of the regions rejoined the market today on Monday. The Nairobi was up 1.21%, a very strong Friday at 110.5 on the All-Share Index, while the GSE was up just 3 basis points on Friday. The South African market have seen a rally in recent times, including the rand, making it one of the best emerging markets currency since the start of the year, and just a few more days before the May 29 general elections, a very crunching election there in South Africa. So let's get on to see what's making the headlines in East Africa this morning. We got a couple of news. Kenya secured $5.3 billion China Exim Bank loan to complete the SGR a transport line, which will connect some of the key economic centers in East African economy. Of course, there was also the 3-day trip to Kenya by President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, where the deal was signed in Nairobi to continue with the oil pipeline that will connect the two neighboring countries and try to resolve one of the most knotty problems between the two neighbors in East Africa. The EFDB annual meetings in Nairobi will start on May the 27th, while the Islamic Finance Summit will also take place in Nairobi the 31st. The Kenya's revenue authority is likely to miss its target for tax revenue this year by at least by 300 billion shillings, despite the new measures on tax reform. The Finance Bill, or the Finance Act, is being kicked around by everyone because the government is introducing a new set of taxes in Kenya that is getting everyone seriously worried. The bid for the Kenya Central Bank to control higher purchase costs is also in place, while the island of Zanzibar says cooperating with Arusha to boost tourism investments between mainland Tanzania and, of course, the island of Zanzibar, one of the most iconic tourism destinations on the African continent and anywhere in the world as well. Let me walk you through West Africa's headlines. One of the biggest companies on the Nigerian market, Dangote Sugar, is in the market doing a 2-series 50 billion naira commercial paper borrowing, which would close in the next few days. This will before we wrap up the month. And we're starting the new week on a very strong note. UBA Group will today hold a world press briefing at about 12 o'clock Nigerian time to flag off a year-long activities to mark the 78th anniversary of this Pan-African Bank. We'll be there at Frontier Africa Reports doing that for you. And the Nigerian government says it has put a stop to devolving electricity regulatory powers to the sub-nationals. That's the state government. After about 4 states have been given approval, the Minister of Power says in Abuja over the weekend that has been put a stop to ensure that everything goes well just before everyone gets to understand what electricity regulation is all about. Once state governments generate power to distribute power, then they can also regulate it. And Benin Republic has approved Nigeria Republic's oil exports to China because it goes through its corridor, while the IFC have signed a very important trade financing deal with 7 subsidiaries of Ecobank Transnational Incorporated, which is headquartered in Lomé, Togo, in West Africa. Those are your headlines in West Africa. What's making these headlines in Southern Africa? Quite a few stories headlined this morning. But first, let's look at South Africa looking to achieve the first primary budget surplus in 15 years. While in Zimbabwe, the FBC says it's completed the takeover of Standard Chartered of Zimbabwe. In Malawi, the World Food Programme has welcomed UK government's £3 million contribution to support the country going through a very tough climate change drought situation. Tuleti will speak more to that for South Africa in just a moment. Zimbabwe, however, is tightening the news on exchange rate violators. News coming through this morning was that street FX traders have now switched to using WhatsApp to connect those who want to customers because the government is going on the street and picking up anyone who is seen on the streets on the sidewalk trading currencies. Sounds familiar if you understand Nigeria's story on FX just sometime last year as well. There's a crackdown on illegal FX trading, what you call the black market in Zimbabwe. And of course, we've seen that still ongoing in Nigeria. And finally, some 1,300 white farmers are lining up already to be paid the compensation promised by the government after about 20 years of delay. Take it away from me, Tuleto.
Thank you, Boasen. Touching a little bit on the previous week, Bloomberg reported that Anglo American plans to end nearly a century-long tie-up with De Beers, the biggest diamond mining company, as it seeks to fend off a takeover by Australia's BHP. Anglo also plans to spin off its platinum assets, according to Bloomberg. In South Africa, the country's President Cyril Ramaphosa signed into law the health insurance bill on May 15. Business lobby groups have called this unaffordable and unconstitutional. The move, of course, comes in 2 weeks before the May 29 general elections and faces some legal challenges. Moving to Zimbabwe, the country announced that it will allow mobile money agents to operate so they can help boost the use of the new gold-backed currency. Money mobile agents were once blamed for fueling the collapse of the now defunct local currency a few years ago. And, moving back to South Africa and East Africa on the issues of slow internet in Kenya and other East African countries last week, it was because of a cable that was cut in Durban in the northern part in South Africa. Group Chief Technology at Liquid Intelligent, Ben Roberts, said internet traffic was rerouted while engineers were working on resolving the issue. And then last but not least, last week as well, on May 16, the IMF Executive Board released a statement on the Mauritius economy. The IMF noted that real GDP growth remained robust for both 2022 and 2023, but then they expect GDP to slow down to 4.9% in 2024 and trend slightly lower, around 3.5% for the medium term. In terms of CPI inflation, the IMF stated that price pressures have subsided due to lower international commodity prices, which also support the island's economy's external position.
Very interesting rundown there. Thank you so much, Tuleto. But I'm sure as we get towards the third week in the month, we're looking at a couple of headlines for Southern Africa. What do you have on your table?
Yes, kicking off today, the Southern African Development Community will hold its extraordinary summit on the humanitarian situation resulting from the impact of El Nino. El Nino-induced drought has negatively impacted the lives and livelihoods of more than 58 million people in the region. The summit will be chaired by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Angola, João Lourenço, in his capacity as chairperson of SADC. The summit will discuss measures to mitigate the impact of the El Nino-induced drought and address food and nutrition security situation in the region as a whole. Also on Monday, Bawasan, Malawi will publish its inflation print. Inflation fell for a second consecutive month in March, which was a very, very welcome change. The data from the National Statistic Office of Malawi show that CPI inflation fell by 1.7 percentage points to 31.8% year on year in March, following a 1.5 percentage point decrease in February. The Malawian exchange rate slid at the end of March, translating into a 2.9% depreciation from the start of the year. And then on Wednesday, May 22, South Africa will publish its inflation print. The country is very anxious as, the rates have been higher for longer than anticipated, especially when compared with other emerging markets, especially Latin American markets. We know that South Africa's repo rate has been at 8.25% for quite a while now. And generally, economists are expecting the inflation print to start on its downward trend.
Yes, very, very interesting. I'm sure the SARB is also looking at whether it has to adjust its inflation targets, because it looks like inflation is a little bit stubborn, sticking to the upside. Whether the target of 4.5 by the central bank in South Africa is still realistic. I'm sure that's what Leseja Kenyago and the rest of his team are still scratching their head to find out. But of course, thank you so much, Leto, having you on the show this morning. African Bank has reported a very robust first quarter 2024 numbers. You can just read that up, as it were. The Pan-African Trade Finance, top trade finance lender, or DFI, released those numbers over the weekend. And Egypt is exploring a merger of its petroleum, electricity, and mineral and renewable energy ministries together to form one single new entity to be known as the Ministry of Energy. That could be very something that other countries on the continent could just look together. Put it all together, put it all energy in one single place and see how it works out. The World Bank is pushing for enhanced partnership with Morocco, while Tunisia unemployment for the first quarter, January to March, came slightly lower by 0.2%. How did President Said and his team, how did they do that? How did they achieve that? Well, you can just look that up as well as part of our coverage of Pan-African news, investment, finance, and the markets. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Tuletu. Okay, let's have it for a Monday. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. And have a great week, everyone. Thank you on this side.